Right, so this is a poem by Joe Sanders called Fidelity. When my niece moved house, she knew what she must take, the old wooden kitchen table that she'd grown up with. It always held a clutter and confusion, cornflakes and cake makes, breadboard and crumbs, veg to be chopped, pills to be taken, unpacked shopping and important letters. My sister and I used to sit at it with shiny scissors and a tin of Grip Fix with its smooth surface and heady smell as we cut and pasted old catalogues and coloured paper, the one time we might be relied on to be good for hours. Now newly arrived in the living room, it is once more the centre of life, a repository for the budgie paraphernalia, pots of pens and knickknacks, pending bills, a place to write, where we eat. It never was smart or shiny, but it's still sturdy, standing solid and dependable, each groove and line added to its character, attributes I'm afraid I never looked for in relationships, durability never desired. Joe Sanders.
That's excellent, Peter. Thank you for reading that. It's a lovely poem. Very good. Good evening, Lorraine. Are you ready to go? You're still muted? Muted even. Need to unmute. That's it. Good.
I've got one serious one and one very light poem. Should I do the light one first? And
which your choice is yours.
You probably all know this thing, but I spoofed it, so to speak. It's called His Pals Were Certain, and it's courtesy of A.A. Milne and Danny Kaye. Anyhow, it starts like, I'm not going to sing it though. They should have changed guard at Buckingham Palace. Alice's husband let in COVID's malice. The guard didn't know he had welcomed a virus, but his pals were certain the Queen will now fire us, says Alice. It's almost as catastrophic as that of Wallace. If she'd been crowned Queen, there'd have been a nemesis. But the subjects now heaved a unanimous balk as they feared more would rear from the ex-Duke of York, says Alice. They've even had gatherings outside on the grounds, while the Queen spent her time counting 12 million pounds. Did anyone know what a mess her son made? But to admit his guilt would find him afraid, says Alice. Are there sentries enough left to protect the palace, though there's a shortage of lateral flow tests, alas? But the Omicron's safe in the flagon with the dragon, while the jabs, vax and boosters are now a bygone, says Alice. It's cocktail time now at Buckingham Palace. The social elites love their garden party rallies. Alice knows a cup of Earl Grey tea will do, and the vessel with the pestle has the brew that is true, says Alice. So I did parody it, so
yes,
parody, but I loved doing that. And I've got a really serious one later anyhow, and I hope it doesn't offend. So continue, s'il vous plaît.
Well done, well done. Anyone who can,
I can hear some of you. It's
well done, Lorraine. That's very good. Thank you. You know, it's quite inventive coming up with, what was it, a Yankee in the Court of King Arthur or something, the Danny Kaye one. The vessel with the pestle has the brew that is true. That one. Yes, it's very good.
Yes, I always remember that.
Welcome, Jim. Nice to see you. We can move down the list to Norman, in fact, because Robin and Jan aren't here yet.
Hey, right. Hi, everyone. Wasn't expecting that, George, but here we go.
Okay, you're coming through loud and clear, so that's good.
Very good. Okay, right. I've got two short ones and a medium. Peter made a mistake by saying there's a select few, so feel free to do a long poem, but it's not long, not that long. Before Putin moved into Ukraine and all the rest of it, we were just discussing how times haven't changed that much, you know, the increase in prices, gas wholesale prices, you know, our home bills going up and so on. And it just felt like nothing's changed that much. And back in 2008, the economic crash, I wrote this one, and I just want to share it with you, see what you think, because a certain amount of content that just seems like it's still happening today. I was going to do an abridged version, but I'll do the full thing, so bear with me. The first 3-4 is a bit political, 3-4 verses. It's called The Thames Flows On. And the Thames flows on. Let me paint the landscape, the social, technology, economic, political landscape. It was the age of hedonism, early 21st century, when London won the financial centre battle and ripped and stripped the assets from Frankfurt. London shouted from the rooftops, autonomy, but in the depths, an embryonic cancerous city economy. Financiers courted the celebrities and super rich, whilst protesters ranted on their Westminster pitch. And so it proved, an epicenter of financial destruction, fueled by easy credit and abused deregulation, finance markets that minted millionaires that would later leave the cupboards bare. In the old days, London market boys sold fruit and veg, whilst father begged the bank manager to lend against a pitiful wage. Now rising like a phoenix from the ashes of depression forged in the 70s, corporate business parks nestled in the countryside as beaconed suburban entities. And the Thames flows on, past the football grounds where in bygone days spectators stood, now paying dearly to sit with corporate hoods, watching their heroes play and pout. These players now own country mansions, which they proudly tout. Into the heart of the city, to the rotten core, city traders, investment bankers, fund managers, their deals they flaunt, credit swaps, derivative talk, money drenched in bars and restaurants. This is the world of the big bonus raid, where only the financial aristocracy get paid. And the Thames flows on into Docklands, a paradoxical name, where now 21st century corporate cathedrals stand, housing the brash city elite. No messenger boys or courier mail, rather millions of messages transported over optical fiber, never to fail. Back in town, wives spend the free-flowing cash, foreign-owned department stores, a favorite splash. This is Bling Central, where non-dom Russian and Middle Eastern billionaires strut and preen and flash their wares. And so it was, the balloon did burst. A credit crunch, a financial curse. Still, money can be made in future years. Take note, tighten your belt, don't fall in arrears. There you have it. Credit Crunch 2008. The next one is about strawberries. And it's really about fruit that's sold out of season. They do say that we can eat anything any time of the year, but if you listen to this, you may not agree. It's called Still Life. Yes, they are strawberries, all right, but I have questions before I consider a bite. There they sit all dressed to kill. How did they survive our winter chill? Where did they come from? It's not very plain. On closer inspection, I see sunny Spain. They do look well formed, bright red and luscious, but some green and white tinges appear less scrumptious. However, some do stand out looking sweet and juicy, just like a still life painted by Giovanna Garzoni. Yes, they've grown to quite a considerable size, force-fed, no doubt, to create their guise. But they are well presented, packaged to the hilt, inviting us to rescue them from the supermarket shelf. They're even competitively priced, a bargain, some would say. Then I think of summer pastimes and long for the day when I next pick from the field and hold in my hand a truly sweet strawberry from our green and pleasant land. Now, the last one's more poignant. A short one, finish off with George.
Mhm.
Hey, this is about an acquaintance, and I wish I'd spent more time with him, but I was always chasing myself to catch a train or run an errand. It's called Wind Chimes. The rains have been and gone. The past few days dry and pleasant. There's the smell of fresh cut grass in the air and the sound of wind chimes in the distance. It's a sunny, mild evening as I stroll down the suburban lane, past the abandoned lawnmower in the scented front garden. The garden of an old acquaintance, at least old in age. On my way to the local shops, we would share pleasantries, but we never shared names or became too familiar. Later that night, I heard the news. He'd been rushed to hospital and then passed away. So I'm left contemplating the developing conversations we could have had, putting the world to rights or breaking the boredom of widower life, which I detected he struggled with, minus his wife, lover, and best friend. As I climb the gentle hill once more, I pass his house and hear his spirit sing via the wind chimes at the bottom of his garden. Thank you.
Well done, Norman. That's beautiful. Very poignant, that last one. I think it's some French philosopher, wasn't it, who said the more things change, the more they stay the same. And when I heard Your Thames Flows On, and I'm thinking of all these, these rich oil moguls hiding their money away at the moment, but well done, nice poems, thank you. How are we going to go now? We've got Norman, we haven't got Ruth here yet, so we can go straight on to you, Jane.
Okay.
Good evening.
Is it me?
Yes, it's you, Jane, please. Yes.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. Yes.
Hi.
I would like to invite you into a classroom, if I may. Very young children. And it's called The Puddle. So these would be 4 to 5-year-olds, The Puddle. Who can explain this puddle on the carpet in the middle of the room? I asked, looking hard at my class of rising fives. Not me. Robbie offered an uneven, gummy smile. Dear Robbie always tells the truth. A little hand shot up, a breathless chuckle. You can, Jemima? Yes, Jill, the little red monkey done it. I seen him. Excited titters all around. This child is as convincing as a fairy tale prince. Yes, Nazrat, I hope you can do better than Jemima. I want the truth, mind. The child is hardly ever awake. I wonder if she's even heard my question. Someone peed a puddle. Yes, go on. Someone peed a puddle from the roof. Peed a puddle from the roof? This caught the class imagination, wild shrieks of pure delight. Who could have peed this puddle from the roof, my dear? Despite myself, I had to hear the child out, get to the bottom of this mystery. Nazrat, now fully awake, comes into her own as she's never done before. She takes the floor, all eyes peeled on her. All necks craned forwards to catch every drop of this succulent revelation. God, she declared in clear, matter-of-fact voice, God peed a puddle from the roof. Only a wee accident, that's all. I'm sure he didn't mean to. We mustn't get cross with him, must we, Jill? Gasps of shock, horror. Well, not quite. The class looked in forgiving mood. It wouldn't do to be outnumbered. And besides, with some imagination, I could easily picture it from Nazrat's point of view. So I did. And the little matter of the puddle has never reared its puny head again.
Very good, Jane.
I love children. Now that the year 2020, 2021 has been awful. No more going into schools to do storytelling, no more meeting in groups, but they've started inviting me now, and I remember why I love children so much. They're innocent, it's wonderful, and they cheer me up. So this was Nusrat explaining a puddle. I can't remember whether this really happened, but for some reason, it's kind of, I could see them doing that. Yeah. Thank you. Do you want another one or in the second half?
It's up to you, Jane. We've got plenty of time. That was wonderful, by the way. I've heard of purple rain, but not quite lemon-coloured rain.
a puddle in the classroom. Let me see. I'm going to read you. It's been raining, hasn't it? Lots of rain. And it rains a lot in Dominica, but the rain's warm. Anyway, this is called Come In From the Rain, Child. And rain is a symbol here of all sorts of things, as you hear. Come in, child, in from the rain. Your father is a vagabond. Your mother, a no good so-and-so. Although my Yachty say it's best not to talk about such things in front of children. Since morning you left alone to roam the street and fend for yourself, a half-ripe mango and leftover plantain is all you eat today. Lord, have mercy. It's a wonder you're not done dead already from bad belly, nasty germs, or just plain hungrification. And you think they care a damn. Lord, I can't believe big people could behave so. Come in, child, come in from the rain, you hear? Poor pity, poor dry head, Timamai. Your nose does runny even when sun's shining. Big hole in your clothes like your mother vexed with needle. Take off these wet rags and put this on Shekakot before you catch pneumonia and die from TB like your Tanti Zita. That's better now. Sit by the cold pot and turn my coffee beans good, you hear? Mind you burn one single grain, or is me with you today? Plenty more rain to fall. My eyelids on them just dancing. Zip, 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 zip. The old roof won't fix. Fix that bucket under the leak by the window for me. Little more to the right. That's it. Just listen to Mamselle Rain dancing ballet on top of the old rotten shingle roof, beating Jinping like Matt Jumbie. What's she have to be so happy for? Eh? She knows something we don't know, or what? Just trouble and toil, toil and trouble, and all kind of heartache. Not one day passing without catching our tail. You should know what I'm talking about, you of all people. So you can stop looking at me with those big firefly eyes of yours. You're not Tebe at all, you hear? But one of these days, please God, we're going to come in from the rain for true, you and me. All are we. Yes, sirree. We going to come in from the rain, the child.
That's wonderful, Jane. Those big firefly eyes of yours.
Big firefly eyes of yours, dancing.
You've got some wonderful lines there. It just takes us all somewhere else. Thank you very much.
There's a lot of Creole in there, French.
Yeah, Jumbie and loads of stuff.
Yeah.
Got Mardi Gras next month, so we're expecting some Mardi Gras poems, aren't we?
Oh my goodness, yes.
In fact, Tuesday poems, yeah. So thank you very much, Jane. That's wonderful. And we're moving on to Steve now. Steve, oh, evening, Ted. Sorry. Hello to Ted. Yeah.
Is that, oh yeah, there's Ted.
There's Ted.
Evening, everyone. Nice to see you.
Got some new headgear on.
Yeah, well, you've usurped me. What's this?
I know.
What's this?
There.
Yes, it's called going around a fashion now, isn't it?
My hair's been all stringy and stroppy and falling out.
Well, grass doesn't grow on a busy street. Sorry about that, Nick.
And I've realised I've got a head like an Easter egg.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get my daughter to paint it. I feel as though I'm one of the in crowd now, so
Yeah.
Yeah, we
1,
we
2,
all,
3, 4. Yeah, we've got an in crowd. 5.
well, I think
Five half.
Peter and Nick are letting the side down a bit, so you have to get the razors out, lads. Sorry.
The only thing I'm not sure about, oh, well, I am sure, it's
What's that?
very, very cold.
I know that's true. Yeah, I've noticed that.
I'm with the girls.
Say that.
Oh, look,
Sticking
there's
with
a
the girls on
candidate.
this.
There's a candidate. We're
Andy
so
Cat.
jealous of you. Look,
Look what my dog did. He's bitten all the thing off there. Look
oh
at that.
yeah.
Stinker.
Tell you,
Yeah.
that's a peaky blinder, that
I was
is,
just
George.
going to say
Yes, it
that
is.
you can
I've
become
taken
a
the razor
Peaky
blades out.
Blinder.
I've taken
Yeah.
the razor blades out.
Right, I'm taking up someone's time. I'm going to
Yeah,
mute myself.
yes, nice to hear from you, but we're
Yeah,
moving
and
on
you.
now.
I hope to get called on later.
Yeah, before Mr. Rushton starts saying, I'm here. All
I'm
from the
here.
Isle of Wight. Hi, Steve.
Yeah, evening everyone. Yeah, and quite like to read an old poem tonight. Actually, I was feeling rather sentimental for South London last week, which is I love the Isle of Wight, but South London has its own particular charm. So I thought I'd read a poem that some of you may know, some of you may not know. It's from my first collection, Burning a Paper Plate Towards a New Art. And this one is called Exhibition in the Market, Why I Burnt a Paper Plate for Art. South London on the 2nd of October 2000. Hang on, sorry. That was the original version. I've tweaked it a bit. Okay, I'll start again. Exhibition in the Market, Why I Burnt a Paper Plate for Art. South London on the 2nd of October at the start of the millennium. A red bus runs behind a setting sun on Brixton Road. I walk towards an exhibition down in Brixton Market, passing stalls, their rusted shutters down, with food-stained daily papers on the ground and smelling fish and rotten fruit and vegetables. Some things I still remember now, free wine, of course, and beer, of course, old friends. I left, and going home, I wondered why the art had paled beside the sight of food-stained papers scattered on the streets at night. I turned a corner, saw the light, a supermarket still not shut. I entered, looked around. I knew just what I wanted, dressed in plastic, made of paper, wrapped in packs of 25. I chose a smaller size. And why had no one done this thing before? The possibilities for transformation, morph and metamorphosis to hold what oil on canvas couldn't. Rushing home, a frantic whirl of fumbled keys and closing doors with opened wrappers followed till the time was right, and I was ready, waiting for the lighting of a candle and the pouring of the wine, and then I took a sip and placed a paper plate beneath it on an Evening Standard paper, tipped the glass until a drop descended, splashed, and that was that, the start of it. I stared in wonder at the purple splattered circle, spattered round the edges, tiny drops escaping off towards the sides. It was so beautiful, so beautiful. I raised it, placed it gently just above the candle, waited. Slowly, wine began to turn away from purple. Stains emerged like golden stars. I was transfixed by magic metamorphosis from everyday material to something else completely of this world, but not more than mere oil on canvas can allow. This burnt and stained paper plate was something to be venerated now. But one more thing of note before I'm done, that anyone can burn a paper plate, but please be cautious as it can be dangerous. Thank you.
Nice one, Steve. I like the veined. I like the way you put veined in there. Bit of old English. Very good.
Yes, I might change my mind about that, but I thought I'd give it an airing.
Yeah, it's very good. Are you going to do some more, or do you want to part two? Or how
I
you
can
think?
do one more, actually. Yeah. While this thing's still up, hang on a sec.
We have time. We have time. Yeah.
Okay, here we go. There's a shorter one. Revelation. I used to paint with paint, now I paint with food. See infinity in powdered turmeric, a soy sauce stain, a splash of wine, Walt Lingham's 100% chili sauce, a mild piquant relish, an appetizer of delightful flavour, though problematic drying time. I use the mess of life and make it messier, burn to bring out individual qualities of various dried fluids. But working with these remnants, am I negotiating yet another novel strategy? Or is there a chance to see beyond artifice before habit closes the door again? That'll do.
Very good. Thank you, Steve. You always bring a smile to my face with your poems. Thank you. Now we've got someone very special who did a wonderful, wonderful Zoom last night with Cinnamon Press. Sue, welcome. I really enjoyed that. Thank you very much. Sue's got a new chapbook out, which is if you put a special code in, it's even cheaper or better value than before. Anyway, I'll let her tell you about that.
Thank you, George. It was really lovely to have some Croydon poets, there in the audience. It was a really lovely thing because they've been my kind of founding inspiration, really, and starting with Poets Anonymous was wonderful. And because of Poets Anonymous and the Peter Evans sending around the emails, I got the first email from Jan Fortune at Cinnamon Press for a workshop, which I went to in absolute trepidation. I was terrified of her, but she was so lovely, and that's what started my journey, really. So thank you all, really, for all your help, and you've listened to my poems day in, day out, and it's been wonderful. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. It's my home, so thank you so much. Anyway, I've got a few poems to read just because I'll only staple one half, and they're quite short, but some of them are sort of revisions. I've got 4. Is that okay, George? Is that okay?
That's fine.
Is that all right? 4 short ones, and then I shall leave you.
Especially if you're not staying for part 2.
No, I won't stay. Thank you. I'll do these 4 short ones. And Tokyo Morning. This is about. I went to Tokyo with my brother-in-law and my sister a few years ago, before Japan got very, everybody was doing it, but it was very strange then. It was the strangest place. So I just wrote this about it. Tokyo Morning. Strange waking, hard tatami mat. Damp heat, cold incense ash. White paper screen, soft wash of rain. Urgent dog bark, shutters rattle. Wet trains scissor a urban crossing. On the street, umbrellas float, transparent, bloom of jellyfish. The next one is a revision. I think I've read it before, but I've changed it a little bit. Dissonance. Subtle swerve, faint change of key. Music summons, soaring, perfect blue. Bronze green grasses bend and ripple, sun-warmed pathways shimmer. Dartington, my sister's cottage with its dove-grey door. One summer festival she rented out her house, that brilliant string quartet. Who trashed the place, the bastards. And this one is called, Hedge Weather. I'm doing a new collection which is about sounds, or anything to do with sounds. So if anyone's got any interesting articles or anything about sound, please let me know, because I kind of like to take inspiration from small things like that. This is called Hedge Weather. There was a time for saying things, and if the words were left unsaid, and if the paths were never taken, maybe our green summertime for saying things has passed. It's autumn now, and far too late. Pick up the scattered leaves, and we might store them, brittle, dry, or we could make a bonfire of them, watch them drift to aromatic smoke and set them free. And this is the last one. It's called Sufficient. And I have read this before, but I've changed it again. Sufficient. Small stones and seeds, neat feathers, tiny, perfect shells. We understand all this, how less is always more, how there is magic in the waiting, how love appears when least expected, how dusk can shrink a room, loud corners silenced, windows softly closed. Concentrate on small sounds, half-heard interventions, wisps of birdsong tailing off, the quiet turning of a page. Evening folds us small, the silence growing still. Thank you so much.
So I think we could listen to you all evening.
Thanks, that's lovely. Thank you. Now bless you all.
Our green summertime for saying things. Oh, some of the lines you come out with is absolutely wonderful.
Thank you. Yeah,
Wonderful.
thank you.
Well, anyway, as a complete antidote, I'll go to Jim. Hi, Jim. Have you got any of your specials for us?
Sorry, yeah, I'm just put my speaker up a bit. Yeah, the first poem I read is actually a song, really. And as a song, it's got a kind of refrain. Refrains and choruses die on the page, actually, in poems, but in songs are okay. And in performance, they're actually okay as well. First one's called Beating Hearts. She was a singer in a local band. She had charisma, people eating out of her hand. She said she liked my sense of humour. Oh, and would I like to be her man? Would I like to be her? Would I like to be her? Yeah, would I like to be her man? Oh, there were problems. I saw that from the very start. She fed my habit. I said that we would never part, and she would always lie beside me as she listened to my beating heart. Listen to my beating, listen to my beating, listen to my beating heart. But then she dropped me like a stone in a well. It was outrageous, made my life a living hell. One night I lost my sense of humour, ended up inside a prison cell. Up inside a prison, yeah, up inside a prison cell. Now I'm with jokers in a world where there are only men. They think I'm funny, a funny man with funny tales to tell. They say one day I'll meet my angel and I will make a laugh in hell. I'll make a laugh, I will make a laugh. Yeah, I will make a laugh in hell. Yes, there were problems. I saw that from the very start. She fed my habit. I said that we would never part. Now she will always lie beside me as she listens to my beating heart, listens to my beating, listens to my beating, listens to my beating heart. The next one's a straightforward poem, actually called Black and White Films. How they shine like dreams of resurrection, yet denied the courting plumage, the sway of wanting colour. How ephemeral they seem, these movie stars. How shockingly unaware of their transience and the beauty of their flesh that blooms cathedral-like and will not fade. As such, there are no signs of mortal stain, these ghosts, mobile light-filled photographs, long dead ancestors released at last to play. Were we to rise, majestic as some pharaoh, would we burn in colours of vulgar opulence, or would we move in glorious monochrome through black, white, and subtle shades of grey, where tears are free to fall like ash in rain?
Thanks a lot, Jim. I enjoyed both of those. They're amazing. Thank you. Like ash in rain. Wow. Thank you, Jim.
Actually, I'll tell you something. That last line was given to be my tutor, Sarah Wardle. She just suggested it. I thought, yeah, great. Yeah, take it. Yeah,
like ash in rain. It's like the skies are weeping sometimes.
Yeah. It's not my line really. It's her.
Yeah, they're certainly weeping at the moment. That's for sure. Right, we're going to move to Nick. Hi, Nick.
Hello. Right. So I thought I'd start with my new sonnet. So this is sonnet number 331. And it's called After 40 Years or More. Moving on is never easy. It's hard to pick a time to go when so much of your belonging is entwined within a place. Go on from day to day, go on with the show, showing up from week to week just to show your face. Working quietly in the corner, keeping things on track. Part of the machinery doing delegated tasks. Collecting money every month and trying to pay it back. But there comes a time to evaluate what lies beneath the masks. The time to make decisions on what is best for you. To stay was always easy, but there will be a time to go. A time to be honest to yourself, a moment to be true. A decision creeps in silently, plans coalescing slow. Life needs a new beginning. There is so much left to do. But now it's time to contemplate what to do for you. So somebody's retiring at the end of the month.
You're muted.
Your mic's not on, Nick.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
I put the book up down and it hit something.
It happens. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is an older sonnet from the book. Sonnet number 153, Mathematics. The narcissistic number loves itself so much, the sum of each digit cubed adds up to itself. You've got to love maths to feel the touch of myths and legends within the wealth of numbers. So you take this number, break it down into the digits on the page, like the youth who fell in slumber on the margins of a lake in another age. When a nymph was reduced to a dying refrain, spurned by this youth who loved no other face, who took each feature magnified by itself again, and summed those parts back into place, till he lost all sense of self, became a flower, reflected in the ripples, hour after hour after hour.
That's wonderful. The narcissistic number. Well done, Nick. I like Irma used to love that poem. She always used to say, "Can you read the narcissistic number?" Yeah. Have you got any more for us?
Yes, I can do another one. So this one is also called Leaving, but it's nothing to do with retirement. Well, it's called Leaving. So when a man's about to die or near the end of days, he pays for men to dig a well that others may have water free to drink, that's cool and pure, clear. Or plants a tree he carefully selects to spread the gift of shade to guests who will, in time to come, pass through on their own paths to God. May peace be found with him. And so he leaves a gift of perfect hospitality that lives beyond his life and honours those, perhaps unborn, that he will never meet. Yeah.
That's great, Nick. Thanks a lot. You with us for part two, I hope?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I might dig out a finished one for that.
Okay, for old time's sake, that'd be good. Now my old mate Ted with his new hat and his new haircut, but it's muted. Or muted even. Okay.
I am unmute.
Very good.
Just to cheer you all up, a poem from Alec Linstitch, Small Histories, Georgie Markov. When I see the castor oil plant, I think of you, your smile, your laughter and the warning. I never saw the secret police, though it thought it impossible for what they had to do in Oxford Street or in the Tube and in the Institute beneath the Brangwens. As we rehearsed your play in Edinburgh, your smile again, that knew that they saw you and us, but that we never really thought that one man in the audience must be the secret police. We English never knew the price you paid for freedom even then. And now at Christmas time, with Zherkov gone, your murderer, I think of you again and hope Archangel Michael comforts you long at your quiet rainbow's end. And in the tube, she carries home her gift. Beside me now, the castor oil plant. I shift my seat and leave an empty chair. What answers can I give? I shift my thigh and think of you once more. The umbrella forcing into you the poison from this plant. There. For those who don't know, Georgy Markov was alleged Russian spy living in London, and they stabbed him with a poisonous umbrella tip. Anyway, on the more pleasant side, 2 restaurants. Between the ventilators and the patchwork whitewashed fence, waiters congregate counting up odd pence in tips and smoke in the grandiose opulence by the stub of a chopped down tree that is both seat and table for resting hard-earned drinks, in a ground of broken concrete that shows no maintenance. They speak Serbo-Croat, Bulgarian, Polish English, Turkish, English from the boss celebrating the end of Ramadan. There is juice in every hand and they all understand that this is an occasion, and they stand around and cheer with the lady who brings her children with shopping and her baby in the same pram. They play a game of what customers will eat. We order something we know they do not cook. Tanju is not quite sure if he has won the bet. Some plan to take their children to Medina, but not if it is Hajj. It is overcrowded and the children are too young. Besides this sacred pilgrimage, they'll form bonds with people they will meet. Inside each restaurant, waiters wearing stripes write up tomorrow's specials, spaghetti bolognese. On standard PC whiteboard, £4.50. On chalkboards, £7 a head. There we go. 2 restaurants, both beside each other. One with totally different clientele. So go at lunchtime for the speg bowl.
Ted,
Right.
you're still the king of the narrative poem, aren't you? Very well
Lovely.
done.
I love
You
them.
are.
I love them.
Mm.
Righto, babies. Next.
Okay, thanks a lot.
That's all.
Now I'm going to go to the sunflower fields of Ukraine for Peter. Hi, Peter.
Hello. Well, as it was St. David's Day this week, I'm going to read a couple of poems by R.S. Thomas, who was a Welshman who didn't really like Wales. I think he was a priest. He didn't like anybody. But this is Welsh Landscape. To live in Wales is to be conscious at dusk of the spilled blood that went to the making of the wild sky, dyeing the immaculate rivers in all their courses. It is to be aware above the noisy tractor and hum of the machine of strife in the strung woods, vibrant with sped arrows. You cannot live in the present, at least not in Wales. There is the language, for instance, the soft consonants strange to the ear. There are cries in the dark at night as owls answer the moon and thick ambush of shadows hushed at the field's corners. There is no present in Wales and no future. There is only the past, brittle with relics, wind-bitten towers and castles with sham ghosts, mouldering quarries and mines, and an impotent people, sick with inbreeding, worrying the carcass of an old song. And soil. A field with tall hedges and a young moon in the branches, and one star declining westward set the scene where he works slowly astride the rows of red mangolds and green swedes, plying mechanically his cold blade. This is his world, The hedge defines the mind's limits. Only the sky is boundless, and he never looks up. His gaze is deep in the dark soil, as are his feet. The soil is all, his hands fondle it, and his bones are formed out of it with the Swedes. And if sometimes the knife errs, burying itself in his shocked flesh, then out of the wound the blood seeps home to the warm soil from which it came. Yes, so
You could almost feel the kind of cold dampness of them hills when you're reading that, Peter. Wonderful.
I think his hatred as well.
Yes, yes, indeed, yeah. My printer's been playing up, so I'm going to try and let's see if I can. I'm going to try. I have to read this off of the blooming the combat. No, that's not the one I meant. I'm going to have to try and read this off the screen. So,
George.
here we go. Okay.
Face.
Right.
No, so they can't see your face. Never mind.
No, I was looking at the screen. Sorry.
Oh,
You're probably looking at my left nostril when I was doing that, I think. This one's called For Lemon. You came in a cold April gloom, when after losses I could not imagine much space existed in my heart for a small Bulgarian puppy, sent across half a continent by a charity in a lorry full of crated pups, with a heart that beat in panic at the enclosing hand of the stranger who gazed at your eyes, one sky blue, the other chestnut brown. Somehow, in the empty space of me, there was comfort in this oddity, as if life's plans cannot be predictable. I held your tiny warmth to me, wanting to be the mother and father you would never know again. There were weeks when your whole world was me, and you'd howl and rip whatever was in reach during any schism in your small order of things. How soon, though, the year passes, and I look at you bounding across the park with your "I'm the boss, I don't need you" expression, and I can rejoice in your freedom and the paradox of your love. Thank you. That's that one. That's about my little friend who's on the sofa at the moment. Let's find another one. This one is just another day at Torridon Road Primary School. My primary school, that was. The child gazes at passing clouds, dragons and castles in the air, oblivious to the sound of mists, explaining the difference between there and there. In that meticulous curled handwriting now missing, as the white chalk moves over green blackboard. Pay attention, boy, her voice comes hissing, and he thinks, it's not my fault. They shouldn't make these windows so high, to make the world outside the classroom show this wonder-filled sky, so high that poles with hooks are needed to open tilting skylights on these hot days when reading books is hard, when he'd rather be playing British Bulldog in the schoolyard. There we go, that's it. We've reached half time, folks. We can all unmute.
But George is muted.
Right.
Recording is in progress. Sheds. Lined up in geometric patterns, row beside row, end on end, end on sides, sides on end, and corner to corner, and corners to corners. Showing equanimity of workspace as needed, where windows face away and secrets are separated by feather-edged border guard. Havens of dirt and creation for growing and making, a workshop for repairs, or a garden store with bulbs and plants, someone's studio or a writing room. A bust moulded in clay or concrete, a portrait from a minute photograph, a mended vase, a propagation so divine wrapped in raffia and wicker, a place to cogitate and think things over, a planning room, a smoking den, or a hideaway to dilute tea in vodka. There's always room for appreciation, to wrap something made with love there.
Lovely. I could just imagine you cogitating in your shed, Ted.
You can't, I don't.
Very nice poem. You got another one for us?
Yeah, of course I have.
Excellent.
Right, I like this one. I do bonfires. It's for all bonfire maniacs or pyromaniacs, whichever. He teases her, feeds her. Start again. Bonfire. He teases her, feeds her her avarice devouring logs, an appetite accepting everything set before her. I'm sorry. He creates kind of bone. All right, I'm going to do it again now.
Slowly.
Yeah. Here am I thinking? Oh, I'm reading like a real person. If you haven't heard, this is called Bonfire. He teases her, feeds her her avarice devouring logs, an appetite accepting everything set before her. He creates conurbations, forms mountains and landslides, circles and prods, agitating embers to insatiable anger. Dressing her, she sizzles and spits, her breath both warning and comfort, perfume impregnating in clothes, green in his nostrils. Protecting herself, she tosses her hair into the night, enveloping to keep her distance. He weeps and burns damp night on his back. This is a taming of the shrew, a performance for two, a one-night stand of impossible consummation. He the creator, father and mother combined. She a lioness, a night empress, the womb of civilizations, his confession. The peace and heart of his mind, a work of self-destructive art. Now, where cold tea stands forsaken, ashes form a circle, citadels have crumbled, where towns and empires thrived, wars and battles lost. Thank you for listening to me cock that up at the beginning.
Well, no, good, Ted.
Yeah.
When you read that line, her avarice devouring logs,
Yeah.
It reminded me of a friend of mine who used to say, beyond the dreams of Ava Rice, whoever she may be.
Yes, yeah, very good.
And I thought that was quite funny.
Yeah.
Anyway, probably not. Thank you, Ted.
That's all right.
Lovely poems, and you read well tonight. Thank you very much. And we're moving on to Lorraine.
Yeah, we'll move on to someone who can read.
No, you read well. Hi, Lorraine.
Not Jane.
No, Lorraine, please.
Okay, right. I still live in the 1940s, so I knew what was going on then, especially in September 1941, when the Baba Yar was the atrocity then. Anyhow, this is a pantoum, and Martin would go mad if he was here today. He used, I forget his surname, but Martin used to come to Ruskin House. But anyhow, this is a pantoum.
That was Martin Burl you're referring to.
Fall asleep in the middle of it.
Lorraine, that's Martin Burl you're referring to. Martin Burl.
Yeah, oh, right, I'll try and remember that. This is called Guiding a Scared Herd. Vladimir Zelensky, only God knows why on earth you chose to stay where your forebears who had suffered such woes. Likely your great-grandparents were spared by a fluke, yet now you're guiding a scared herd to avoid Putin's nuke. To stay where your forebears who had suffered such woes, this time round means you could deal with your foes. Yet now you're guiding a scared herd to avoid Putin's nuke, and you vowed Baba Yar's victims would ne'er be forsook. This time round means you could deal with your foes, but you won't take revenge. It's how hatred grows. And you vowed Baba Yar's victims would ne'er be forsook, for turning your other cheat's urge from one's fine holy book. But you won't take revenge, it's how hatred grows. And you're no vile dictator, as all the world knows, for turning your other cheek's urge from one holy book, which is why some Nazi Ukrainians were left off the hook. And you are no vile dictator, as all the world knows. For the Israeli garden of the righteous, you'll be with heroes, which is why some Nazi Ukrainians were left off the hook, though it's unlikely they'll find rest in cranny or nook. You never believed in an eye for an eye, so you plumped to stay where your forebears who had suffered such woes. All the Christians, Muslims and Buddhists were stumped. Vladimir Zelensky, only God knows why you chose. That was my tribute to Zelensky, which I think is super.
Well done, Lorraine.
Because,
That's a
you know,
wonderful.
I know exactly what happened then, and I can more or less identify it because a bit of my family went in Chelmno concentration camp, etc. So I did do one on Vladimir Putin a few years ago when he was using sarin everywhere, but I couldn't find it. I'll find it some other time. Yeah, a few years ago. So
Okay, thanks, Lorraine. That's a
me
wonderful
in activist mode
reference.
today, you see.
Wonderful
Activist.
historical references there. Thank you. Just reminds us that these things go back a bit, don't they?
Yeah.
Right, we are moving on to Norman now. Hi, Norman.
Can you hear me, George?
Yeah, lovely.
Now, guys, 2-3 weeks ago, my wife and I were doing some loft clearance. Well, at least we got some of it out. And you're not going to believe this, but in one of the boxes, I found a poetic license, as in Poets Anonymous. And I seem to recall it was through Peter, I think I got hold of this. So what I wanted to do, guys, if you don't want me to read, just let me know. But there are poems in here by Ted Smith-Orr and Peter Evans. Now, he's still on the line, Ted. Is he on mute?
If you'd like some more,
Go for it.
if you'd
Yeah,
like some
I'll tell you what.
poetic licenses, Norman, I've got a loft full of them. I can move them to your
I
loft.
would,
And
well,
I've got half a loft.
right. Well, I will. I'm going to come back to you guys because I don't know why I've only ended up with number 29. But I'm gonna, with Ted's agreement and Peter, I'm gonna read one of Ted's, but I'm actually gonna read a second one of Ted's. It tickles me pink. It's very short. It's called A Kiss, and it's a kiss in time leads to all sorts of trouble.
Oh, yes. Forgot that one.
I mean, I think that's brilliant.
It is.
Ted Smith-Orr.
You're very kind.
Right, wait a minute now. Where the hell are they? Let's start again. Here he goes. Ted, tell me if you're okay with me reading this.
Yeah, go for it, baby. I feel flattered.
Listen,
I need the ego trip.
filmmaking. You remember that one?
Oh, I love it. I love it.
This is
Even though I wrote it.
This is filmmaking by a guy called Ted Smith-Orr.
Yeah.
I loved it. You and I, sitting between the trees on the hillside, waiting for the light to shine through and mirror the river blue. The trees and shrubs in steaming silhouettes, and the birds diving for the early morning fish. The rain never mattered, and the insect bites proved us real. It was always you and me, only us, capturing it on celluloid, cutting and editing to sell onto the filmmakers. Now we camp in a cabin, or for authenticity, sit beneath canvas, pretending to feel ethnic.
Yeah.
I shout at someone or telephone the field director. Yeah, the film's better, harder edged and crisper all round. That's the point. The scenery was always better low key, low budget, and like you and I, slightly out of focus.
Lovely. You read that just as it was written. Well done. Your sentiment was perfect. Thank you very much.
Now, again, I don't want to build Ted up here, but I mean, you know,
I need it.
all the poets, you know, tonight we've heard lines. It just takes a few words or a line or two here. But I mean, you know, low budget and like you and I, slightly out of focus. I like that.
Yes. Nice. Yeah. I enjoyed it.
Now then,
If I'm allowed to enjoy my own
yeah.
doing that, I feel very
No,
flattered.
what? Of course, I've got method in my madness. Sorry, I don't want to hog things here, George, but have I got agreement from Ted or Peter? to
Go
read,
ahead, please.
right? I
You're doing a
wanted
great job.
them. I wanted them to tell me where this came from. So, what's the background to filmmaking, Ted?
It's well, if I say it's totally fictitious, it is. But I think somewhere along the I know, and I hate to confess this, it must have been something like the start of a wildlife program on the television, and the view was the opening view in the poem. It was the river slowly going along. And you obviously I was on the camera was on one side of the embankment, and you could see in the distance the other embankment, and it was a horizontal strip of the river, and that was all there was.
Yeah, so that triggered it.
Yes, it's a case of all that from that.
Yeah, very good. Now then, Peter, can you hear me?
Your turn in the hot seat, Peter.
Yeah, I can hear you.
There's a couple by Peter. I'm just wondering, let me just see. Yeah, I'll go for the more, there's one of them I can understand straight away, but this one, right. So if I do, Peter, Walking Elvis Home, you remember that?
Yeah, I remember that.
Right. So this is Peter L. Evans, Walking Elvis Home. This is a photograph I never took, but wish I had, hurrying forward, turning, framing you as you stopped for a moment, knee deep in snow, in a background of snow, a blue rope, the only color, looped around you, waist to shoulder, and a reindeer tied to the other end. This is not what you had expected, asking to walk back to the hut to avoid the finger-numbing cling to the slats of the packing case sled, which slid uncertainly, rapidly behind the skidoo. And I can see you looking at the camera, quizzical at one of life's jokes, at being tied to a reindeer. This is not what you had expected. And the reindeer looking amiable as reindeer do, but my camera stayed deep in my rucksack and I was between you, giving an occasional encouraging tug on the rope to both, helping you walk Elvis home. Right, that's it. So, background to that one, Peter.
Who's Elvis?
That's actual occurrence. Word for word, that is what happened. Elvis is a reindeer.
Okay.
It's a holiday in Tromsø in northern Norway.
Northern Norway.
In February, and with Orlando, we did the tourist thing of going to a Sami place where they had reindeer, and they had a not a yurt, but whatever their tents are called, and you ate reindeer stew. And Orlando didn't fancy the trip back on the sled, which were basically packing cases behind a motorized skidoo. So she said, "Can I walk back to the where we started from?" And they said, "Yes, but can you take Elvis with you?" And she doesn't like animals, so I went as well between them. But
yeah, very good. Yeah, we went up, my wife and I, well, and little Adam. We were up in Lapland. Oh, he was about, oh God, how many years ago? 16 years ago, something like that. And in amongst the reindeer and what have you, you know. It's like everything else. You see them on television, on postcards and that, you've got to be there, you know, in their environment. So anyway, I'm not going to read anything now, George. I just wanted to share, you know, it tickled me finding poetic license. Because I saw my life flashing before me. I mean, I just can't believe this is 2009, number 2009. You know?
Oh, they're even more ancient than that, I'm afraid, some of them. But
yeah. Right. Okay. I'll leave it at that, George.
It's rather nice. Thank you for doing that, Norman. I think it's lovely to hear some of the poems I like from Ted and Peter read by someone else as well. It's lovely. Thank you for doing that. Appreciate
Feel very flattered and thank you very much.
you.
it. Yeah. Now we're going to move to the gentle sounds of Dominica, I hope. Jane.
Okay, thank you. This is a rain one. It's called One Rainy Day. It rained buckets the day my mother died and the dry season ended. The sky wept without let, releasing spasms of pent-up pain, which moaned through the wind and shivered up the spines of ancient immortelle trees. The rain fell silently at first, then gushed in torrents, noisy and demented, outdoing my own inner storm. Suspending blinding tears, I became conscious of the blistered earth, thirstily guzzling. Once dried up streams, now water powerful, gurgled triumphantly seawards, burying new life and hope. I heard the jangling of buckets positioning on the bamboo spouts to catch the all too precious gift of pure rainwater. I heard the laughter of children as they stripped off their scant clothing to offer up ecstatic faces and glistening bodies in joyful thanks for each refreshing drop. At the same time, echoed my mother's voice, mingled with young laughter, the wind's muffled sighs, and the sickly fragrance of white coffee blossoms. In that moment, upon the promise of many a rainy day, reposed my anguish, cushioned, cradled, if not dispelled.
Wow. It's very beautiful, Jane. Very beautiful.
Yes, because we've got the rainy season and the dry season. So when the dry season's ended, the children are really appreciating the rain, stripping and running in. So lots of thoughts. Thank you. See if I find another rain one.
If you could.
Yes. This one's called Where Ignorance is Bliss. That reminds me of the hurricanes we've had. Was it a couple of weeks ago? But leaving us untouched, but up north, people suffered, didn't they? Yeah, so that storm was that sort. Where Ignorance is Bliss. Tropical storm Erica followed hot on Danny's heels. Quietly, so unobtrusively she came. No wind, the gentle breeze that stirred through the leafy trees. Shafts of lightning, a few peals of thunder. But it was the rain, 12 hours of downpour. As without let, the mist-laden sky kept up her weeping. From the kitchen doorway, when it finally subsided, we watched as busy rivulets rushed down drains. As many waterfalls sprung out of every crevice of an adjacent wall. We shook our heads the next day on hearing the news bulletin advising workers to stay at home. A public holiday on account of a little rain? We scoffed in our ignorance. Without access to radio, TV, or internet news, how could we have known of villages submerged, of schools and churches destroyed, of crops and livestock obliterated, of bodies and bridges washed away, of landlocked folk who needed helicopters to fly in basic aid? Our belated wisdom, now mocking us, seemed far, far worse than folly, as our sadness and survivor's guilt set in.
Lovely, Jane. That's wonderful. What was that first poem about your mother called? I love that one.
It is called. I'll find it. I've lost the page. I think One Rainy Day. It was called One Rainy Day.
One rainy. It's a beautiful poem. Some lovely bits to that, Jane.
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep that as one of my favourites. One Rainy Day. Okay.
Have you got
Thank
White
you.
Blue? It's in that one.
Okay.
Sorry, George, can I ask Jane a question?
Mm.
Jane, I'm sorry if I missed this, but on average, how long does the rainy season last?
About 3 months. It starts in June, July, and August, and it's meant to quieten down. So the month of June, very wet. July, August, but now think with global warming, it might rain and have a hurricane in December. Things have changed, but it used to be 3 months.
Yeah, it's kind of coterminous with hurricane season, isn't it? Really, it's kind of about that.
Rain and a hurricane come together, yeah. So every year, fingers crossed, that there's not a hurricane to destroy, everything.
So if you're going to the Caribbean, Norman, go in December.
Don't go into go in December, Norman. You'll be nice and warm, and it'll be the dry season, so everything's but not too dry. It's dry season, but not too dry.
Do this. Just can't do it.
So June, July, August, I take it, there must be limitations in crop harvest and things, is there, Jane?
Yes, so they've got the planting season earlier on, February, March, April, when the rainy season starts. And then,
Thank you, Jane. Yeah.
It's about 6 months really, because people tend to do the planting in February. Well, different crops at different months because it's warm all year round. Yes.
Thanks very much, Jane.
Don't go in Norman. Don't go in June, July. Too much rain.
Okay.
Right, we're going to move to another island now, the Isle of Wight, indeed.
Isle of
Steve.
Fiscal innocence. You've got fiscal innocence.
Oh.
So I'll be able to read without Jim muttering in the background because he's now muted himself, which is great.
Right,
Yeah,
hopefully.
More, just a couple of short poems again from this this burning a paper plate towards an New Art collection. Kind of nostalgia for me just to read them again and maybe just jiggle them around a bit. 1.6. Painters, decorators leave bricks to their beautiful colours, and stones so supple in pastel and grey, they too do not need a coat of paint from you. And grass, painters, please leave green to that. And the sky, tell me, looking up, what more blue do we poor humans really need? 1.7. Yesterday, I stripped some wood chips from my bedroom walls. Stopped, but later could not find my wallpaper scraper. Had a drink and looked again, then had another. Soaked a wall in preparation, read the paper. Searched again to no avail. I could not find that wallpaper scraper. Retraced my steps, looked under chairs and desks, and then decided, foolish boy, move on, don't dwell on things. And at that moment, with that thought, I found my missing paint-splattered wallpaper scraping implement, camouflaged beneath paint-splattered step ladders, and it felt like this misplaced implement incident meant something, but maybe not. Thank you.
Thank you. They're still classics, your paper plate poems. I love them. I like your art gallery ones as well, Steve, but it's like trips down memory lane, isn't it, when we hear these things?
Yeah, we all have to do it, George, don't we?
Yeah, we do. We do. Now I'm going to try and wake up Jim. Jim, where are you? Jim? No. Jim? Jim? Mr. Aldrich? Jim? He's unmuted. There he is. Hello, Jim. Are you good to go? It's your turn, Jim.
Oh, right. Yeah. Yeah. Actually, one of the problems I have is I start doing one thing and I get sidetracked. And I get sidetracked within that sidetrack. And within that other sidetrack, I get sidetracked somewhere else. So that can come back to where did I start off from and whatever. And this is what I keep doing when I'm changing the poems I want to read. I'm going like, where do I, and it's like, it's a good way to drive yourself absolutely crazy.
Excuse me, my dog's trying to let himself out the back door, so I just, I'll have to let him out.
Say it again.
Jim?
Yeah.
You enjoy it, mate. You keep getting what you're calling sidetracked. You're a poet. You're allowed all those things, and that's where they all come from, mate.
No, I just don't want to be like that. It's like
Yes,
lost
you
in the
do.
maze. You can't
Yeah.
get out of the maze. You're trapped in the maze.
Lovely. Well, write your way out.
Jim, if you were efficient, you wouldn't be a poet. So there you go.
Yes, they're well angels.
Anyhow, right. Oh yeah, right. Yeah. See, I lost myself then talking to you about this actually. Right. First poem's called Fiscal Innocence, Egypt, 1951. Aged 8 in Ismailia, an army flat. I'm on a high veranda which overlooks a Coptic church and a group of Arabs talking below. On a whitewashed wall behind me, a portrait glares. My father, a regimental sergeant major, staring into space like a hawk. On a nearby table, my mother's open purse yields metal artifacts and colored pieces of paper. I frown, pick up the purse, blink. Then I proceed to cast metal pieces to the Arabs below. There is a sudden explosion of activity. Grown men in robes of biblical splendor swarm like pigeons, fight each other. Delighted, I throw down more of the metal, conduct a swirling carnival of foreign worshippers. The word effendi enriches my ears, but I run out of metal, pull out a piece of colored paper, hold it aloft. The scrabbling stops. The silence is like a vacuum. The crowd raise both arms in eager worship, jump up and down, chant words I do not understand. I return the paper to the purse to the table, then start to read a Popeye comic. Mother returns, she looks at the purse, then me. I am Sphinx-like. She smiles. Popeye eats his spinach, adored by olive oil. Father continues to stare into space. The Coptic church glows like a lantern. Yeah, that was from when I was in Egypt as a small boy. And I didn't know what money was, honestly. When I came back to England, I went and got something from a shop and they said, hey, what about the money? And I looked at him and I said, what's money? And he just laughed. And I just ran back to see my mother and she gave me some. Yeah, right. Yeah. Anyhow, the other poem, which I managed it, right. This is called Deja Vu. It's after Sir Thomas Browne. Last night, I died and entered God's time, which stands and does not pass. Where I was alive, dead, and yet to be born. My grave on earth, but my birth and dying place was also paradise. I could see my mother conceiving of me at the same time that Eve was conceiving of Cain and Abel. Yet, how I belonged to be in the state of eager and excited ignorance that had preceded this eternal déjà vu. The delusion that I had been, to some extent, in charge of my own destiny. And then I saw my father and mother disappear into a snowdrift. And when the snow had gone, I was a small child again, staring down a road which had no beginning and no end.
Very good.
Wonderful, Jim, wonderful. But that first poem you did, Irma told me a story after World War II in Antigua as part of not reparations, but Lend-Lease. I think the British had to open up all their ports in the Caribbean to the Americans. And in Antigua, the ships sailed in and they were chucking dollar coins into the sea to watch the children dive for them in the water and fight each other for them. And Irma said, I hated them because they were making us feel like performing seals. You know?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know, it's power is a wonderful thing, isn't it? So it's a double-edged sword. But thanks for those poems. They're really good. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Both of them.
Thank you.
Yeah. Now, we're going to move on to Nick.
Right.
Right.
Poems entitled Deja Vu are always after someone else. Thank you for the inspiration and let me drink your health. I just wrote that one. Thanks, Jim. So back to Finland. Or, a fairly old one, I don't. Yeah, you may know it. It's called The Craftsman. Ilmarinen in the iron, Ilmarinen in the forge, strong arm descending, hammer in his hand, dropping on the hot metal, feeling it move, releasing the spirits to spark into the air. Tongs in one hand, runes on the grip, one with the iron, charms upon his lips. Ilmarinen in the ore, deep within the furnace, his spirit in the charcoal, his voice within the air. Craft in every action, skill in every touch, the fire in his being, flames in his heart, strength in his sinews, treasures in his grasp. At the end of the day, Ilmarinen rests, warm beneath the firs, his strong heart beats, alone in the night, sigh upon his lips.
Excellent. More? You've got more?
Yep.
Encore.
This is The Bride of Gold and Silver. Gold coins from the ocean, silver from the waves. Out of his grief he fashioned her, pulled her from his need. Ilmarinen pumps the bellows, blows into the heat. Gold melting in the furnace, silver in the flames. All day in the hissing fire till out steps a lamb. Bronze hooves, a golden head, silver in the wool. All were amazed, everyone enthralled, but not Ilmarinen. For the smith this will not do. A wolf would hope for this, he says. I need a golden bride, I desire a silver wife. Returning the lamb to the furnace with gold coins from the ocean, silver from the waves, Ilmarinen strains at the bellows, blows into the heat, gold melting in the furnace, silver in the flames, all day in the blazing fire till out steps the foal, golden mane and head of silver, copper on its hooves. All were amazed, everyone entranced, but not Ilmarinen, for the smith this will not do. A bear would hope for this, he says. I need a golden bride. I desire a silver wife. Returning the foal to the furnace with gold coins from the ocean, silver from the waves, Ilmarinen toiled at the bellows, blows into the heat, gold melting in the furnace, silver in the flames, all day in the roaring fire till out steps a maiden. Her head silver, her braids gold, sapphires for her eyes. All were shocked, everyone frightened, but not Ilmarinen, who held out his hand. Feet and hands he fashioned, perfect in their design, but her ears heard nothing, and her mouth said not a word. He led the girl to his bedroom, her beauty filled his heart, her head resting in the pillows, a hip pressed into the mattress. He brought the furs to cover them and laid down with her in the dark. One side of him warmed by the furs, but the other was cold, and he wept. I'm a fool, for the love of gold is a cold love, and the glitter of silver is chill.
Powerful stuff, Peter. Nick, sorry. I love that. I love it. Thank you. And it's kind of that culture of the Baltic and Finland is kind of really in our minds at the moment, you know, and there's so much to lose. Thank you. Now we come to Peter.
Well, for this, I am Mohammed.
Oh, yes. Okay. I'll forgive you.
The first poem he said is by Serley Zardan, a Ukrainian poet. How did we build our houses? When you're standing under winter skies and the heavens turn and sail away, you know you've got to live somewhere you aren't afraid to die. And then Mohammed's own, my tears for my fellow humans. I've been down lately, although the moon shines, the Russian tanks and bombs have left Ukraine crying. They respond with hammers and pistols. The Black Sea provides no consolation. Women cry, Children feel pain, men rage. When will bowed Ukraine break the Russians and find freedom in moonlight? Those are two from Muhammad. And I was going to read one.
I like that second one. It's really
Yes.
good, wasn't it? Absolutely.
It's really apt, it's very now, isn't it?
Mm.
And having the first half read two poems by R.S. Thomas, this is a poem by Christine Evans called Not Much Like R.S. Thomas. I am telling cousin Rosie on the phone how I like cleaning at the conveniences in a village with a view of soft green Gorsey hills, how the reassuring smell of Dettol whisks me back to childhood, and how I savour the frisson of bustling boldly in with spray and bucket towards the gents, cleaner coming through, that gets them shifted, but claim kinship with the rubbish men who rumble up, dash in with a "'Scuse us, love, bit of a rush." How exotic are the men's urinals, wide flower mouths I polish to a giant lily brightness, and turn each lavatory pan green as a rock pool, livid with algae. Sounds like a poem coming on, my cousin teases, and sets me thinking there are worse jobs for a writer. You can be silent with your thoughts, or slosh around and sing, even stop to scribble if you feel the urge. Wiping taps and mirrors shiny, you look beyond yourself to catch characters without their captions, plot a context for their angry anguish messages, wonder which of them it is who pinch the soap and moss green andrex, why they block the pan with sodden wadges, and whether infant schools do quite enough free finger painting and squidging of clay. Illuminate the underside, Blake said. The poet should be like the glowworm, must come by late to look for some. Mornings, though, my company is birds, song thrush and blackbird, a chiff-chaff, woodpecker yaffles down by the river. Young mums, plump-bummed in pastel shorts, stop off to let kids wild from play school squabble on the swings, squeal in the daisies. At evening, whole families assemble to watch old men at their bowls or swap gossip they picked up in chapel. I think, but do not tell about today. A woman overcome on her way home with bad news from the hospital about her husband. In sun dapple beneath young sycamores, absently dead hunting daffodils, as a stranger I could share her pain, and felt the quickening of a phrase to tune, a thread that tugs, but Rose is laughing, not much like R.S. Thomas though.
Wonderful lyricism, it's amazing.
Very good.
Amazing. Yeah, amazing poem. Thank you for that, Peter.
Is that Christine Evans, did Peter say?
He
Yeah.
did, yes.
Yeah,
No,
she's a great poet.
no relation.
Not as far as I know.
Unfortunately, no, Peter. Eh?
Although as she's a good poet, I'll say yes.
Yes, my sister. Yeah. Well, I'm going to go north of the border now with Edwin Muir. This poem speaks on several levels to me. It's called The Combat. It might ring some bells anyway. It was not meant for human eyes, that combat on the shabby patch of clods and trampled turf that lies somewhere beneath the sodden skies, for eye of toad or adder to catch. And having seen it, I accuse the crested animal in his pride, arrayed in all the royal hues, which hide the claws he well can use to tear the heart out of the side. Body of leopard, eagle's head, and wetted beat, and lion's mane, and frost grey hedge of feathers spread behind. He seemed of all things bred. I shall not see his like again. As for his enemy, there came in a soft round beast as brown as clay. All rent and patched his wretched skin. A battered bag he might have been, some old used thing to throw away. Yet he awaited face to face the furious beast and the swift attack. Soon over and done, there was no place or time for chivalry or for grace. The fury had him on his back. and two small paws like hands flew out, to right and left as the trees stood by. One would have said beyond a doubt that was the very end of the bout, but that the creature would not die. For ere the death stroke he was gone, writhed, whirled into his den. Safe somehow there, the fight was done, and he had lost who had all but won. But oh, his deadly fury then! A while the place lay blank, forlorn, drowsing as if in relief from pain. The cricket chirped, the grating thorn stirred, and a little sound was born. The champions took their posts again. And all began the stealthy pour, slashed out and in, could nothing save these rags and tatters from the claw. Nothing. And yet I never saw a beast so helpless and so brave. And now, while the trees stand watching still, the unequal battle rages there. The killing beast that cannot kill swells and swells in his fury till you'd almost think it was despair. That speaks on several levels to me. So there we go. I think it's a wonderful poem, very apt for what's going on. Right, I'm muting time. Hey. Well, I've really enjoyed
I'll
tonight.
read this as the last one. And
Oh,
I wrote it
please.
about 5 or 6 years ago about
Thank you, Lorraine.
Vladimir Putin, not Vladimir. And it's called It's Your Turn to Say Sorry, Putin. It's time to come clean now, Putin. Your pal Bashar did use sarin. Your dastardly deeds, classified as Putiny, will shortly subject you to severe scrutiny. Confession time's dangerously near. Show you're sorry now, Vladimir. Apologies aren't your forte, Vladimir. Dismissing death tolls with your air, cavalier. You think you're a czar, presiding through fear. Venal, villainous, vain Vladimir. Third Reich were hell-bent on extermination. Willy Brandt lamented with stark realization. Apartheid would not work, grasped F.W. de Klerk. And Australia also faced shame. For established abuse, there was no excuse. Aborigines heard Kevin Rudd claim. Be mindful, some years before toxic bombs and after Tsar Alex showcased pogroms, Nick Romanov, his son, autocratic and mean, saw his power fade fast with his friend Rasputin. Anti-migrant, arrogant, intransigent Vladimir, you better repent or you might disappear. And I hope he does. So that's why.
Oh, wonderful,
5 or 6
Lorraine.
years ago, when in Syria he was giving them all the sarin and God knows what. He's dreadful. Somebody, you think by now somebody would assassinate him somehow. Shall I apply?
Yeah.
But, somebody's got
Never get
somewhere
near
along the
him.
line.
Awful.
Perhaps
He's got
I'll
very
take
good-
training soon.
he's
Anyhow,
got
I'm going
unbelievable-
to bed now. I'm very tired. And I think the hearing people have phoned me a couple of times. I didn't even get it. Anyhow, looking forward to see you all next time. And maybe I can hear more of everybody. Bye. Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye-bye, Lorraine.
Bye-bye.
You certainly went for the balls with that poem, I tell you.
Yeah, enjoyed your